Hello, welcome back to our channel. If you haven't already, go and check out our other videos. We now move on to Season 1, Episode 7, The Call of the Simpsons, which first aired in the US on February 18th, 1990.
We're going to start off with the Simpsons family, what each character mainly brought to this episode. I'm going to start off with Lisa, because really with this one, Lisa as a character
didn't offer much.
No, she was just a bit part in this one. All she really contributed was just parts to other people's story in this one.
Like playing this smell game in the car with Bart, talking to Marge.
Smell the odour, which annoyed him because it was going on about Homer's feet. Brief bit in the middle of the episode around the campfire with Marge. Marge trying to just convince her that everything was going to be okay with Bart, Homer and Maggie. That scene was slightly different.
Yep, it was slightly different. That sequence with Marge and Lisa by the bonfire was originally longer and included conversation between the two about boys, but it was cut from the episode. So did they run out of time with that bit in the episode, or did they think that bit didn't really need to be added into the episode?
Could have been a bit of both. Moving on, we go on to Bart next.
He has more of a role, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's basically in the opening scene anyway with Homer. Starts off with him mowing the lawn just with a normal standard mower. Then you get Rod Flanders, who this is his debut episode. He's riding a motorised lawnmower.
And this is the first instance that the Simpsons hates the Flanders.
Yeah, Bart just mutters under his breath when Todd tries to be friendly. He just mutters, telling him to shut up under his breath.
And talking about that first bit, the fence between the Simpsons and the Flanders is missing from this episode. And when Bart parks the lawnmower right in front of the window, in the next shot, it's not there anymore.
Yeah. Also, when he gets the RV dealership, he starts asking about whether this massive RV has got a satellite dish, which then leads to the RV salesman Bob basically telling Homer to tell Bart, yes, it does have a satellite dish, even though why can you not just tell Bart yourself that it has one?
And this is Cowboy Bob's first appearance, even though he is a bit part in The Simpsons.
Just appearing sporadically throughout the series as a whole whenever they want to purchase an RV or whenever Homer wants to purchase an RV. And then the rest of the episode is really just centred around him and Homer's storyline.
Trying to survive.
Yeah, which I'll cover in full in a bit later on in the video when we get round to Homer. But we'll move on to what seems to be like the subplot in this storyline.
Yeah, it is a subplot where with the Bears, Maggie.
Yeah, basically it sort of starts off with Maggie wandering off after Homer and Bart. Even though Marge gets a bit confused when Lisa's like, oh, is she going to be okay? And she's like, oh, well, Margie's like, oh, well, they'll be fine because Homer's an experienced woodsman and all this.
Which hasn't been said before.
Which we find out in this episode. Never been mentioned before, never been mentioned since.
And how would she be safe anyway? Because Homer and Bart didn't even know she was there. Because when she was sucking on the pacifier,
they basically soil themselves, for lesser words, and run off like babies. Because they just basically don't even realise she's there, sort of thing.
She connects. She has a bond with the Bears.
Yeah, basically that starts off with coming across this bear, who at first it looks like it's going to attack her, and basically she puts a pacifier in this bear's mouth and
It forms a relationship with her, basically.
Forms a bond. The bear takes Maggie back to the cave where there's another 3 bears who again look like they're going to attack her until this bear basically stops them. And I think they were trying to hint that there's bear language.
Yeah.
Like, she's fine, she's not going to hurt you sort of thing. So, they sort of, between the four of them, there's a maternal bond of looking after Maggie.
Well, they get her stuff, don't they?
Yeah, they get baby toys, they bring back bottles for her, that sort of thing. In the evening, they end up... she ends up sleeping with them. And yeah, that's basically the subplot for that one. Marge in this episode comes across as sort of a foil for the Homer character.
She has faith in him as well.
Yeah, but when Homer takes him to the RV dealership...
Oh yeah, she thinks he can't afford it, which he can't afford an RV, the one he wanted anyway.
Yeah, because he's basically he's just shooting for the stars. He just
wants one better than Flanders.
Exactly. And yeah, as I said earlier on, she's like obviously playing the motherly figure with Lisa, obviously, convincing her that everything's going to be okay when Homer, Bart and Maggie go off into the woods. We hit on earlier on the campfire scene, and basically, yeah, she does have a little bit more of the storyline, but we'll get to that once we've gone through Homer's part in this, because really this episode is Homer-centric.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Basically, the whole episode's... Well, the episode starts on the fact that he's jealous of Flanders' RV.
He wants a better RV than Flanders,
yeah,
which he can't afford.
Yeah, basically, he goes into the office with Bob to have his finances checked. An alarm sounds on the computer once everything's been inputted, and Homer being...
That's stupid.
He just turns around and goes, "Is that a good alarm?" And it's just like, if an alarm is not good, Homer, no matter what. And
then Bob that says, "Right, I'll show you an RV which is in your price range."
Yeah, which is basically the bottom of the barrel. It's fallen to pieces.
It needs more work doing to it.
Yeah, basically, whatever you gonna pay for it, you're gonna end up spending more on parts anyway.
And he fell for the line where he goes, "That guy over there is gonna buy this RV."
Yeah, even though you can clearly see that the rest of the family, especially Marge, are just like, even though they're not saying it, they're giving off those vibes, just like, no, it is basically a piece of junk.
Well, yeah, you can sort of hear it when he's driving it.
Yeah, and then basically...
That's the driving. He takes him
on the scenic route, even though Marge is like telling him to slow down, saying they're going the wrong way and all this. He doesn't listen. And then through the magic...
In Homer style.
Yeah, through the magic of cartoons, he finally stops. But
the edge of a cliff.
The precursor hanging over the edge of a cliff.
And romantically, you'll escape pretty quick.
Yeah, even though the RVs are right off, everything's in there. So basically, they're just confined to whatever they've got on the back, basically clothes they wear. And basically, this is another instance of Homer trying to convince the family that it's fine because of his being an experienced woodsman. But he goes in not far into the forest, but he goes into the forest.
Not known as an echo.
Yeah, and then just basically goes on about how he's
murdered them all,
the doomed and all this. But then even after they all hear that, Marge is still... Well, Bart still wants to go with Homer and Marge is willing to let him go. Even though that then just leads to disaster after disaster.
Homer trying to teach Bart how to survive when he can't survive himself.
Yeah, basically that starts off with them going over a waterfall.
Yeah, miraculously, like, when they end up in the waterfall, they have no clothes on. So, when they're in the air, unless Bart and Homer actually took the clothes off as they were flying through the air, how did they have no clothes on in the waterfall? Yeah, I can understand Bart's hat coming off. Yeah, I can understand that, but with the clothes, I mean, did you think you're, like, stupid?
Yeah.
Are you not going to realise?
But then again, with the hat, Homer sees that in the water and just instantly thinks that... But he has a little bit of a look for him, but then just...
Thinks he's dead.
But then Obviously, Bart survived. He's on the other side of the river. At
But
this point,
naked like Homer.
they both work out that they're both naked, so they have to do makeshift designs, a la Adam and Eve, to cover their modesty. And then, like you said, Homer trying to teach Bart the way of the outback of the forest,
Way
how
to
to
survive.
tries to catch some food, but because it's Homer, he doesn't really understand the physics, and instead of catching dinner,
It flies straight up into the air.
Yeah, he flings it halfway across the forest.
Unless he's Superman, he's never going to catch it.
Yeah, so he then resorts to plan B of running into the forest to attract the attention.
I went to some bushes.
Yeah, and then must have brought out half the wildlife on him, and that just fails. So
Then he puts his hand in a bee's nest.
they see Homer sees a honey firstly, and because it's Homer, just decides he's going to eat it right out of the honeycomb.
It's pretty obvious the bees are going to protect the honey anyway.
Yeah, which then leads to
He can't speak.
The sort of climax of the episode. Like I say, he can't speak because he's got a mouthful of honey and bees, and he ends up running to the stream because he needs water to rinse his mouth out.
And that's where he's getting filmed. But talk about that is when he gets into the water, he's got no mud on him. So the concept of him apparently being Bigfoot is him with the mud. And the guy who was filming Homer filmed Homer getting into the mud.
Yes, it's like, yeah, he's still filming, but you can't see this person coming towards him, and then this is what leads to the whole Bigfoot style of the story, basically. So you then curtail into this point of like the Rangers obviously being told this guy sent the home movie off to the media who were hyping it up, because again,
You have loads of people surrounding it looking for him.
yeah, basically it is just sort of the thing of like even back when this episode was first aired, Bigfoot was one of these great myths, legends of like, is it real, is it fake? So I think with this element of it, they were trying to just feed into that of the fact that the public didn't know, but they wanted to believe. But
And yeah, this episode was a satire of the Bigfoot specials that had aired on the Fox network at the time when its episode was written.
yeah, but then it gets blown even more out of proportion because of Marge. When her and Lisa wander into this whole press and public affair,
She tells him it's
she's shown a picture
Homer.
and she's like, she explains that it's Homer, but again with public wanting to believe what they wanted to believe, they're like, oh, she married Bigfoot and all this.
Yeah, and then they ask her what he eats, and she goes, pork chops.
Which sends it even more frenzy, leading to Homer and Bart wandering into this whole melee. They capture him using tranquilizer darts and then send him off for experiments.
First of all, they see Maggie, don't they? And Maggie sort of says...
Yeah, Maggie comes back into the birds bring her back, so that storyline is tied up. Again, another coincidence of a TV show. She mysteriously just appears just as Bart and Homer are appearing, and yeah,
Gets hit with a tranquilizer.
Homer gets taken off to experiment on, even though when he's being experimented on, he doesn't have the mud on him, so it's like, well, there you go. You can clearly see he's not.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Bigfoot, but at the same point, they do say that they can't work out it's either an intelligent ape or a below average human. So even that point, they're trying to go into that whole myth of Bigfoot just being a man in a suit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically the episode as a whole.
Yeah, so this episode, like we said before, it stemmed from Homer wanted to be better than Flanders, better RV. First instance of The Simpsons hating the Flanders with Bart.
Basically buying a death trap and RV, Homer nearly killing the family, the whole getting lost in the woods, and then he becomes the mythical Bigfoot. Positives, negatives of this episode?
Let's start with negatives for a change first.
Negatives, right.
Yeah, negative was Homer when he was in the office and that alarm sounded on the computer.
We know he's dumb, but it's a different style of dumb to believe that an alarm can be a good thing.
Yeah, and believing Homer can afford an RV of that magnitude. Which is
both,
apparently better than his house, what Lisa said.
Well,
as
both aspects of the scale. The fact he's dumb enough to believe that he can afford an RV that size, but then being stupid enough to be talked into taking what they eventually took. Because really, who would, even if anybody else was spilled that same story about somebody else wanting it?
Yeah, I know.
Would you really want it? You'd probably say 9 out of 10 people would just be like, nah, it's fine, I don't want to buy an RV then. Not like, oh yeah, I'll take one.
Yeah. Some other negatives, well, we mentioned some in the video a moment ago about the fence as well, disappearing from the Flanders and the Simpsons house. Did he think you're stupid not realising that the fences actually disappeared? And the instance with the lawnmower with Bart, leaving it in front of the window. I mean, then disappearing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether it was a negative, but as I said at the beginning of the episode with the characters, Lisa just really is the only character here that doesn't
offer anything, basically.
Yeah, it's like...
Even Maggie offers more than Lisa in this episode.
Yeah, Maggie actually has a story of her own. Lisa just blends into the background, really. She becomes a subplot of other people's story, but at the same point, if she wasn't in the episode, you wouldn't really miss her, to be honest.
No.
You could have just put any... I mean, obviously I know she's got to be in there because she is a member of The Simpsons, but just for the sake of saying it, you could have put any fifth character in there and it had just played off the same.
And yeah, any other negatives, would you say?
I can't think of any because as an episode it was
a good episode.
Yeah, because a lot of the negatives you can say about Homer is just general Homer stuff anyway.
Yeah.
But basically just the positive, Maggie having a storyline of her own, because really over the course of the series she hasn't really had many sole ones, has she? She's had a handful of that.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Bart was a positive in this episode, I'd say.
Yeah, well, Bart 9 times out of 10 brings something to the episode. I mean, he just bounces off so many of the other characters. Obviously, the main plot with Homer, him and Lisa playing the stink game in the car, and just the fact of this whole outdoorness. I think he was more the level-headed one in the Outback. I think Homer was trying to pretend to be the strong one, but I think Bart was the strong one.
Yeah, he was the strong one. I'd agree with that.
And to be fair, with Marge, this is actually an instance where Marge's nagging at Homer doesn't come across as being irritating, because she does actually have a point with what she's saying. He's trying to spend money he doesn't have. He's taking the wrong route, speeding through the forest.
Yeah.
I mean, whether she believed it or not, telling Lisa that everything would be fine, Maggie would be fine going off with them, and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, any other positives to say?
Well, generally it was a good episode. So we could talk about a lot of positives, I think.
But what do do you all think? Your positives, your negatives.
Well, this episode finished in 3rd place in the ratings on its original broadcast on 18th of February 1990. And the episode was actually nominated for an Emmy Award in 1990 for the category Outstanding Sound Mixing for a Comedy Series or Special.
And considering how some of the episodes before that, because some of the episodes from this series were debuting in the 30s, did we say?
34, I think.
34, so, and that was only a couple of episodes before this, so to go from 34th to 3rd in 2-3 episodes, obviously...
That's quite good going.
Yeah. Does this show that the series was improving, or was it just... they just hit a lucky streak?
We got more of a feel of the family in this episode now. We're starting to get more of the hating the Flanders part.
But it was planted in this episode. Even though if you said that to him, you were like, oh, where does Homer start hating the Flanders? It's like, well, it's Bart that starts hating them. Homer's just portrayed as being jealous of them to begin with.
Yeah.
Until it changes over. Anything else to add with that?
I think we've covered everything we want to cover. Yeah, but if we've missed anything out of the episode, which is a positive and negative, which you feel we've missed, feel free to comment. And please click the like button.
Subscribe.
And like I said, comment down below. And we'll see you in the next video.